Hi, gorgeous.
Hello, welcome back. Hello, everybody. It's so nice to be here with you, Z.
Likewise, I'm excited for this one today.
I am. It's a little bit of a flowing one. And for anyone that's new to our channel, welcome back. I am Anya from Spiritual Soul Center, and this is Z
Z
from the Quantum Game Changer. Did I get that right?
Collective Game Changer and Z Collective. Yes, you got it right.
There we go. Yeah, she's on it. Yeah, and you can catch our podcast weekly. So if you are new to tuning in, welcome. And we are really glad that you are here. We do appreciate you joining us in this sacred energy circle. We do recommend everybody ground and protect themselves because we do talk about some really deep stuff into the depths of the weird and wonderful world, as always. That is what we do. So if you like anything in between spiritual, energy work, past lives, multidimensional selves, different earths, timelines, all different things in between, you know where you're at, and you know we're going to go deeper than deep, because I think that's one thing that we struggle to find in our ascension is conversations, communications that actually weren't afraid to take it to that next level. And there's many out there that talk about meditation and enlightenment, and that's fantastic. I think they should continue, but there isn't many that go very, very, very deep into the world of the energy realm. So that's what me and Z like to do here on my channel. It is called The Power of Energy Series 2. Remind me what it is on yours, Z.
Truth Talk, I think. I'm like,
I think it's
no.
is it Let's Chat, or I don't know, it's something like that. Truth Talk, something like
Oh, I
that.
think
So
actually it might be called Let's Get Real.
let's get real. That's it. I was like, we was halfway there, both of us.
I'm
So
like,
there we go. You can find us on there. You'll see our beautiful faces, and you know where we're at. So yeah, I'm really glad you guys chose to join in and tune in with us today, because we are choosing to explore to some really, really interesting topics. Me and Z like to dive in throughout the week of what energy has been surfacing up, and this week has been a wild one, to say the least. It's been up, down, very chaotic, and very much charged with the vibration of truth, the vibration of trust, and the vibration of revelation, stepping into your power. I actually did a talk on Sunday this weekend down in Luton at a Mind Body Soul Fair on stepping into your power. And that actually involved me having to step into my power in some ways. So,
isn't that nice how those do that? Like anytime you
well,
tap into something, you do a chat, you do a video, it's
right,
like, oh fuck, I
right.
gotta step into it now. 'Cause
Literally. Oh damn, I gotta embody this now as I'm actually doing this. This is now something I've got to do. And yeah, I had to navigate a lot of different things this weekend. I met with the beautiful Gillian England. If you don't know her, go give her a follow. Gillian England, Mystic Healing. She is amazing. I love working with her, and she's given me a copy of her book to read. So I'm so excited to check that out. And if you want a copy of her book, please do check that out, because she is incredible. And me and Gillian and Claire, my beautiful friend, who we do a lot of energy work together. She's just a little bit shy on the camera. But yeah, we do some fantastic work, and we met up as a little triad, and me and Claire drove down to Derby, and we were managed to connect in with the Nine Ladies Stone Circle and do some fantastic energy work up there. I'm going to be putting some footage out on TikTok, on YouTube, but wow, what a weekend. What a weekend, and what a week, what a build up. It really did feel like, even though I was physically preparing for something this weekend, there was an energetic build up though throughout the week for this energy that came on the weekend. And it did feel like a bit of a revelation, explosions, fireworks, but not in the destructive form, more of like, ah, okay, I see that now. I understand this. The truth
exactly.
is here. Yeah,
It's
it
very
was
much so
like,
like in a wise way, like, oh, yep.
mhm, truly. Yeah. And it really did feel like a sense of leveling up confirmation. So I'd be interested to hear if any of you guys watching have experienced that. Please share some of your experiences down below in the chat or on any of our Telegram groups, because, I feel like when me and Z get together every week, it's always in alignment. What I've been working through in my life, what Z's been working through, yeah, the way that we've been working through them is completely different. But in essence, the reflection, the lesson, the experience, the frequency we've been working through always seems to be in the same resonance, in the same frequency. And yeah, I just find that so interesting. And I know this weekend, Z, you've been working with trust like me, working with stepping into your power, translating things, getting clarity, gaining deeper understanding and a deeper connection with self again and again and again. And also with that then brings new questions, new confusion, new layers of, oh, what the fuck does this mean? And how do I integrate this? And so I guess we just wanted to give that reflection a little bit and also get your reflections on how you navigate that. Because I know for me, I feel a celebration of like leveling up. But then I can't lie and say that sometimes I do feel this anticipational energy of, oh, now I've got to prepare for this. You know, it's like I feel it. It's a shift from prepping for this to now this, changing my energy up. So how do you navigate that? Have you navigated that? What would be your reflection with that?
Gosh, so many times. First off, there's a billion bees in here, so my nose is itchy like crazy. I'm like, oh man.
They've all come to the party.
Welcome to reality.
I love that.
Um, I would have to say this is a different buildup than I've experienced before because I've went through so many processes of the breakdown, the trust, needing to trust. This was like very, I want to say, easefully giving the truth of all the memories that I've accumulated thus far from this reality, from other realities that have come in, parallel lives, all those things that came into oh yeah, that makes sense now. Like it was easeful, but also during the week, I was called to really like step up into leading myself into what does my perspective look like? How do I work with my perspective? How do I show my perspective outward? Instead of maybe masking it or hiding it, which I would say more masking would have been the case for what I was building up for the trust. And I had to trust this. So I was actually creating videos of myself going, this is how I perceive things. This is what that looks like to me. And then arting it, like drawing it all out, having a little fun with it, and throwing up there and be like, geez, I'm doing this 24/7. Uh,
Yeah,
absolutely
right.
24, absolutely bonkers 24/7 on the coding, the color, all of that. And how am I then going to really pull that into my truth and my reality? It was really like I had to embody it this week and step into it.
Okay. And I guess that is something that, you know, without being cliche, you do have to be pretty brave to do because there is a lot of people, like, I guess for me, like, I know I'm different, God, we all know that. Freaking hell, if you don't know that by now, then sorry, wrong show, I'm very different, but I thought that I'm not that much different to normal life. Like, yeah, I do like, I don't, conform to the full mainstream ways of living. I don't use certain toxic products. I don't eat certain things. I don't do certain things, listen to certain things, and blah, 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 blah. I'm very aware of what consumes into my auric space, physical space, mental space, every energetic space. I think everyone should be. And that's what I guess confused me because I stepped into a space, not with Gillian, on a different day this weekend. And it was in essence a spiritual space, but I felt so out of place.
Ah,
I felt so judged. And I got called like, oh, you are one of them real hippies, aren't you? And I'm like, yo, I don't even fucking think I'm a hippie. Like, I didn't even think. But like, fair enough, maybe I could, I don't mind that you can call me that, but I wouldn't personally. Like, I'll say, oh, yeah, yeah, I'm a hippie. Like that, I think the word I would use the most is I'm spiritual. I like that. I find that a natural terminology in the human realms, because it's easy to digest because I am very astral. I am very up in the, and I don't think hippie fully encompasses that sometimes. It's more lack of conformity to certain narratives, and I do fit in them boxes, but then I fit into others too. And so I find it difficult to fit in one box, and I've never really put myself in one, but I found myself being put into them this weekend and facing rejection of like myself and business, the energy. And I had to like sit with that of like, shoot, what the heck's going on? This is new. And trust came up many, many times this weekend. Trust, 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 trust. Trust that things are not how you perceived it. Things are not what you expect. Things are not going to be brought back in them specific ways, but please just trust. And I
absolutely.
kept being told that so many times. I had a few scary experiences where I was having like full on panic attacks. And the main word that was coming through was trust. And I haven't had a panic attack like that for a good few years. I used to suffer with them incredibly, really bad for years. And I haven't had one even remotely like that for a good 5, 6 years. And it was a momentarily reminder of the ways in which my body used to live permanently. And so that was a nice reflection of peace as well. But wow, yeah, I felt extremely judged, felt extremely out of place, and not by like any people like running it or anything like that, just by the energy. Just I just felt like I stood out so much, and obviously I had comments and rejections and energies, and it just I think I realised how different I actually am and how maybe far away we actually are to what I perceive as normal being normal. I think I thought it was a little bit closer on because I see it more in my community and the people I associate with, of course, because I choose to associate with people that are more consciously aware. So, of course, I see more conscious awareness and more ascension going on around me more of the time because I'm not really exposed to the rest of the world. It was a shock for me. And it was a big shock, like for my body and my nervous system, not to feel accepted, not to feel seen for who I am, to be judged on my age, to be judged on my clothes, to be judged on the way I speak, my energy. And it was like, whoa, what is this? I felt like I was back at school. And I really struggled with that a little bit. And I know you've experienced that in your own way before, Z. And I did struggle with it and I didn't because I shifted it off. But in the moment I struggled, in them moments I was like, it was really intense in my physical body. And I had to ground and ground and ground and ground. And all I was doing all day was grounding, anchoring in my energy and reminding myself of who I am. And Claire, she did a great job of bringing me them reflections too. And she was at one point, she's like, I feel like I'm you today and you're me. What the fuck's going on? It was really switched up in the ways that I just was in doubt. I was in questioning and feeling judged and feeling insecure. And I'm not in that energy anymore. And so it was interesting for me to shift through that. I think it was another layer of that, a deeper layer of that needed to be removed so I could be seen, so I could not be afraid to be. But yeah, that leaning into trust came in very various ways. And I guess I was forced to do it. I could have chose not to, but it felt like there was not much choice. And I guess the main thing I wanted to highlight here is it's not comfortable. Ascension is not comfortable. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not easy. It's not nice. It's not
No.
comfortable. It doesn't feel like skipping through a field. I mean, granted, in the times of grounding, I was skipping through the field, dancing about, but then I was coming back and feeling that anxiety all over again and having to go back out and do it again. So it's a combination. And at one point, someone said, "What are you smoking? I want to have some. What are you living?" Like, what he said something like that. Like, "What are you taking? Can I have some?" It's like you just live life. So, but then there's me thinking, well, I have many reasons. I'm upset. I get depressed. I get overwhelmed. I get angry because we're human.
Yeah.
And I gained a lot of reflections this weekend on who I am and how I perceive to be to the world, and also how I perceive myself. And trust was a main part of like, are you able to trust yourself that this is where you're meant to be? This is what you're meant to be doing, even if it
That's
doesn't look
it.
how you thought it would look.
Yep. Yep. I want to say through this process, through the ascension process and the waking up of everything, it's not going to look how you think it's going to look. Like, and every step that I've worked at, it's been, uh, this is how I'm going to perceive this to be. Oh, that's not exactly how the way that it was. I thought that was going to be at all, which is meaning that I'm getting too far up in my head jargon and not into like my feeling and perceiving. But it definitely similar to you this last week, it was, can you trust your own perspective? Can you trust that what you're perceiving is real to you and that it can fluctuate, it can change based off of who you're around, what that looks like, how does that feel? And for me, like I've had to work that judgment piece for a hot second because I've been out there unmasking for a good period of time and realizing like this last weekend that nobody really gave, no, nobody cared. I like
Like,
I'm
oh, okay.
quietly myself, like nobody cared, and I was like, you know what? My body has shifted at least to a point where she's like, I'm accepting that this is what this is going to look like. Because a few weeks ago, not so much, right?
Right,
Like I'm thinking
right.
the death door. So
I can't do this no more. Oh, it wasn't that bad.
that's evolution right there. Oh,
Literally. And the pace in which you've shifted through that though, that's impressive because before that it had taken us years. And
oh,
now it's not
definitely
taking us years.
not. Uh,
We really are shifting through things so fast and things are changing so fast. And that's why I am not making any huge life decisions right now. I'm just putting that out there. You guys do what feels right for you. Totally cool. Like that's your life. Please do whatever feels in your alignment. But for me personally, I am so passionate about one thing one day and then the next day, passion is not there. I'm taking action on what feels like I need to take action on, like a lot of business stuff and a lot of choosing self things. But when I feel like, oh, I really want to do this, and then I'm like, really no. I'm like, no, I'm not doing this because there's questioning. And if it comes out of that impulse, just hang on a minute, because this might be a reactionary based decision and something that's shifting through. Maybe we just give it a week to see where we're at in a week's time and then make a decision because maybe right now the energy is way at its peak. Everything is amplified. And maybe when that gets out, it might just settle and there'll be clarity instead of the decision will probably might be still the same decision, but at least it will be made out of a place of feeling clear, of feeling grounded in self rather than, just charged in that moment, because that's where the doubt can set in and the reverse.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And
Mm.
why I usually like once I know there's an action point or I'm going to be making a decision, I'm going to make an action and then I'm going to take a step back for a second and make sure I'm not leaning into programming that's like, it's got to be right now. We got to get this moving in
Right.
just a second, right? All of the fixer-uppers, all the diddly doodads of all the old stuff that we don't want there anymore. So I usually wait because obviously there's like no timing in it. So I'm just sitting for a second and then I'm like, ding, there's the light. Next action step, right? Could be a week later.
Literally.
And that's the clear point, and that's what brings in more momentum for other stuff. So what's really nice about that too now is that I get to lean back and trust myself and trust the timing, trust the universe in it because that's gonna come in. I know it's gonna come
Yeah.
in. I don't know when it's gonna come in. That's where things get a little psycho for a second.
Yeah. Yeah. All psycho around here too. It gets all weird for a hot minute because it's like that's where the trust to truth. It's where the two
Exactly.
are co-aligning,
That's perfect.
because you have to trust to get the truth. Because if you don't trust, you're making decisions out of fear, panic, safety, control, which I understand sometimes is necessary. That's what I'm saying, do what you do. But in the long run, it's nicer, more comfortable for the mind, body, soul, spirit to feel like it made a decision because it trusted itself enough to follow the truth
Absolutely.
rather than protection, safety, comfort,
Absolutely.
fear. That's usually what might be taking us a little bit up for soul path. And again, maybe that's for a reason. But for me personally, if it was continuous, that's where I'd want to be questioning, okay, how can I trust? How can I trust? What does that look like? And I'd really sit and think, okay, if I was to give advice to someone on how they could trust through what I was going through, what would I say? Because for me, it would be just what I just said, don't make any decisions in this current moment and try to not look outside for the answers and look within. Because when you take it out of yourself, take it out of your own shit, your own energy, you can see it differently. You can take a minute, you can take a beat, you can see it without the emotionally charged
Sure.
things that are pushing it, and that allows the truth to come through. Ask for your guides, ask for help, ask for confirmation, ask for signs, ask for things in the universe that show you more of a connection to trust that then leads us to the truth.
And also, like, at least from my perspective, just slow down a little bit. Take a rest in there. I know we all
Yeah, I'm
processing
not great
a lot
at
of
that.
stuff
I'm
right
not great at that.
now. Take a little breather, go outside. I always like know that I'm making a decision, and then once I do that, I drop everything, right? I don't want the busy, chaotic energy in between that. I know whatever else is going to be coming through is going to be coming knocking at my door, but the in between is where I noticed my body starting to go, okay, what are we doing? Are we trusting this? Is how this is working? I did something wrong. Oh my gosh, right? All those things that go running through like the human consciousness. Um, I think going back to heart and trusting it and being able to sit with it long enough so that you know what the clarity
Mm.
point is. And having
I
fun
mean,
with
man, I'm not saying it's not scary sometimes.
it. Oh yeah,
Oh, shit's scary. Like, and you're allowed to feel scared.
definitely.
I'm just giving you permission there. You're human. It's completely normal. To feel that fear in the unknown, that panic, that "Oh, what do I do? Where do I go? How is it going to react? All the things that come because they are the things that keep you alive. They are the things that keep you afloat, that keep your children alive, that keep life flowing. Your awareness, your hyper awareness sometimes, your ability to spin a million plates and stay in the perception of control. And I'm not saying that that's not needed sometimes in life of survival. It's what we need to do. We just do it. You spin the plates, you get it done. But when we're talking about healing and when you have the time and the space to return back to self and you have that ability to connect in, even just for a minute a day. When I live the chaos, which I've got 7 animals, 2 kids, a business and my own little spiritual life that I run with all these missions that I need to go to clear out demons everywhere, apparently, which is a wonderful addition to everything. And then I paint and then I sing. And then I like to create books and everything else in the meantime because I find it hilarious to add more onto my everlasting plate. Then I garden and do allotments. The list could go on. And so it's like, I hear you. I don't have time either. I'm with you. But make time. Get a shower. Close your eyes for 30 seconds. Hear me, I do it. The kids are vibing with you. You're feeling like on your every last nerve. Start singing, start dancing, start moving that energy through your body. Do it in the
Pick up
moments
an
where it's,
instrument. I've got
yes,
I've got kiddos
yes.
here with me
Get
too.
outside and run on the grass.
Yep, yep.
Yeah,
It's giving yourself
yeah.
that time, and I'm gonna say definitely strongly looking at a zoomed out perspective and having some humor in it because really when you look at like the simulation and what we're in this reality, you're like, wow,
Well, like literally, I'm like, sometimes I'm like,
look at this
are you
creation.
all right? Like, why do you do this? Like, are you all right with yourself, my love? What's wrong with you? And then I had more stuff onto my list, and I'm like, my other self looks at me like, I'm all for the creation and all love, but in what human realm are we doing this in? Which one? Oh, I've got a new retreat idea. Really? Really though, we really don't. It's like the creation is on fire for me, but then the physical building she just gets tired. She gets tired. And that's where the rest piece comes in, like you say. And I
Absolutely.
struggle with that. I am very overactive, very like one of my programs that I'm working through letting go of is needing to perform to like earn rest or needing to be doing things
Sure.
needing to be productive to be worthy.
Right.
That's a big one for me. And so I'm really learning to do nothing, but I struggle with it extremely. And I think that's where the energy work comes in because, I have had a lot of comments over the years, and I think that's why doing the tarot was my physical way of being like, yeah, I can, like, this is my physical energy work, if you will. Because I've been doing energy work, as you have, see, my whole life.
Yep.
Just didn't really know a lot about it until I got into early adulthood. And recently, like going to meet Gillian, obviously everywhere we go, every single place I go, there is something to do. Let me just put that out there. It's never just a meal. It's never just a trip to the shop. It's never just a walk the dogs. Does not exist. It's always a purpose. Whether it's simply just to say hi to a spirit that hasn't spoke to anyone for 50 years because they haven't seen a medium for that long, or someone that can, it can be so small. It can be so big. It can be releasing a timeline glitch in the grid. I don't know. It can be anything that comes through. And I guess for so many years, I didn't value it in the human realm because it didn't feel tangibly, physically provable, valuable. And I struggle with that. And recently I've been really embodying the energy work part of me, and I do that all the time, but I'm starting to actually acknowledge it and verbalize it and stand in it, I guess, a little bit more. And from doing that, I've watched other people start joining in with me. And I'm like,
I love that. Yeah, absolutely.
because yeah, it just feels like me owning it and me accepting that this is not work because I don't like that term, but it is real, if you will. It is tangible, it is physical, and it does take some form of physical, it's not just like you can do it all and then go for a marathon run. Hear me,
No,
you ain't doing that. You
this
ain't
is where
doing
the
that.
embodiment piece is like coming into that, right? Because you and I both work very energetically, other planes, dimensions, 24/7.
Yeah.
And as we're like, that's fast. Like down in our bodies is really not as fast as we'd like it to be. So
Let's put that out there.
talk about a wide spectrum. Exactly, exactly. Like my body is consistently running 24/7, and that's why it's like,
Just to keep up.
wide spectrum,
Yeah.
yeah, just to keep up with the processing because I know
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
constantly doing that 24/7. To bring it into that physical embodiment, like my body does get tired. She
Mm,
gets tired real fast, especially if I've been out energetically coding for a long time, doing my work. I'm like, I'm gonna be down for the next day, and I'm gonna be outside, and I have to know that about
yeah,
myself because that magic up there has to come through this.
yeah. And this has to be right to do this shit.
Oh, totally,
Yes.
totally. But it does. It does work its way through.
Yeah.
I went to the hot springs this last weekend.
Yes.
I'd set this intention because I'm looking for like some more co-creators for one of my business platforms, and like I really want to have fun with it. I want to play with it, and so like I set it out that like I don't want to work hard for it. I want these people to come in with these parameters.
No.
Authentic. I want them to be really excited about what they're doing, right? They don't have to be all spiritual woo-woo because I'm looking for embodiment here and I'm looking for play.
Yeah.
And so I'm just sitting there relaxing, and this being comes up and she was telling me about the land, and I'm like, that's really cool. I was talking to her, I'm like, you had some pretty rough stuff happen in your existence down here. Like, yeah, tell me about that. And she was like, I have a gift for you. And I was like, what is it? And she wouldn't tell me. I'm like, okay. Would you like some support to like leave? Right? Because I'm usually like working that, just like you, working that type of work all day long. There's always a purpose and a reason for why I'm in a particular place. And she's like, I'd really actually love that. But I do have a gift for you. But I didn't hear what that was. So I'm like, okay. So I'm helping her move her way up in her process, get to a plane that feels really good to her and her family. I know she's got a lot of generational stuff going on. Like as the night goes on, I'm like traversing some of these pools, and I go back to that one, and I'm sitting in there, and I have like 15 minutes left before it closes, right? And these people walk in, and they're all of a sudden talking about the exact thing that I'm looking for, right, for my business, and really down to earth, super authentic, hitting all of these notes that I exactly like put out to the intention field. Um, and that ended up being the right alignment phase, right? That was me allowing that, and that was her gift. And because I know that it was their grandma who was saying that, they specifically brought up, yeah, my family's from here. My grandma ended up dying of da 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 da, and that's exactly what that being told me. And I was like,
Wow.
oh,
It
that's
was
the
her.
gift, right? That was
And
the gift.
she was the gift. Oh,
Yep.
wow.
Yep. Bringing
So
that
beautiful.
connection point together. So that information up there in the magic does come into the physical reality. It is definitely about
Hmm.
trusting it. It's about trusting yourself, how you're perceiving it, releasing it as well, and allowing it to come in, and then giving yourself all the space and time to find the clarity with all of that. That means like if I got to take my days off, which I did to go up to the hot springs, I didn't like my body's like, I'm not working anymore, right? I cannot do it.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
that was much needed because I found exactly what I needed, right? So it is coming in, and it's coming in a lot stronger than it used to, I want to say, with that magic out there coming into the physical body. But now we've got to really talk to the physical body and ask it what it needs to fully embody it so that we can walk it.
Yeah, no, I hear that, and I do actually fully hear that because I think for me, a big part of it is, like I was saying, that validation and acknowledgement and knowing that it's worth being able to like take the day off. Or for me, like I don't often leave my kids, I'm with them 99% of the time. They don't go to nursery. They very rarely go anywhere. So I am usually with them most of the time. And for me to take like a full weekend, and obviously I had a physical commitment there as well. But, I knew I had to give it extra time for the work that needed to be done along the way while we were there and then along the way home. And like you say, it's that awareness that we do give so much space for it. And then it's the space in my physical body because like I couldn't eat much this weekend at all. And I was really struggling with that because I was tired, I was warm, but my body was like, nah, we cannot eat food when we're doing this level of work. So I had to wait. And the second the last energy work was done, I was starving and then I was ready to eat. And so, again, like it's so difficult to explain to people. And I think because mine's less, I definitely do experience code when I'm working with people, more so when I'm working with the bodies. I really see that. But a lot of the time with the land, mine's very like storytelling, very visual. So I'll see, the people there or the visions of the land, what it was and what's happening and like the image going out. And then I'll see the energy and what's locked and what's stuck. And like, for example, this weekend, after the whole weekend was done, before we drove home, which was like a 4 hour drive before that, I went for a walk. Knew we weren't done yet. And so we went for a walk, found a graveyard. Didn't know graveyard was there, but we found a graveyard,
Yeah.
obviously, because of course we did, and a church. of course. So there was the last point of the mission. So we were sat there in the graveyard, and then I was just sat for a minute and was making a cigarette, and I just heard this little girl. And now I kept saying to Claire, like, obviously I'm a medium, I see spirit all the time, but we was in a graveyard. There's spirit everywhere. But I could only see this one girl clearly. Every other spirit was blurry. So then we kept on talking, and then she wandered off doing her mission, Claire. And then I was sat talking, and then I seen this, again, energy protection around the conversation. Just again. It was not necessarily bad, but at first I was a bit like, what's that? Because it was a lady that was very, like, tormented, let's say, in herself. And she was in a lot of pain.
Got it.
She was
Yep.
in a lot of pain. She was like screaming. And I guess the word would be like a banshee. Claire tapped on the right frequency
Yeah.
when I was explaining it to her. She was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly the word I'd use, but it wasn't intentionally bad. That was very important. She was tormented from the pain. And when I channeled into it, the little girl had been taken, that was her daughter, and she'd been taken away from her. And because of the way she passed away, the little girl, not by her own choice, obviously, she was kept in a dimensional plane that when she passed, she could not access spirit realm.
Ooh.
And so her mother had then chose to end her life to go be with the daughter. And then they'd not been together for like 200, 300 years.
Yeah. Yep. That's a, I don't
Now,
know.
as a
I'm
mum,
itching again. I'm like, I watched that whole story.
now as a mum, I was there like, what? Nah, this is not going on, you can imagine. And I got really upset and I got really emotional. I was connecting in with them. And I just kind of thought, the whole connection, there's been so many signs. And when that were finished, I realized why I could only see her. Tilly, I realized why I could only see her in that end because she was the only one in that realm. She was showing me her realm. So all the other spirits were there, but they were blurry and I couldn't see them clearly because she couldn't either and she couldn't talk to them.
Yep.
God, when I realized that, and obviously she'd not met anyone that she could show them that and that she could understand that, and then we stayed till 4 o'clock, which was interesting because we weren't gonna. But then at 4 o'clock, the church bell rings, and obviously bells ring out low vibrational frequency. And that brought out the being that was keeping her there. And so then we was able to clear that and fully get rid of it from the land. And then the spirits came back, the energies came back, and it felt so whole again. And it's like you feel the whole shift in yourself and your energy and just seeing that mum and daughter be together again. Makes me cry when I think about it now because it was,
So beautiful.
and then you think about that stuff and you think people might think you're crazy and they might think you're making it. I really don't care at this point because to me, the feeling that I get from doing that, I don't get paid for that. No one sees me do that. I don't record that stuff a lot of the time because how the fuck can you record that? Like, it's very intricately in the moment. You're just doing it. You're just in the flow.
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
on time. I might, if it's intentional that I'm going to do that sometimes, but it's not, it's very rare that I do it. Anyways, the point is, it's not for anything else. I don't receive anything physical from it. But in the same sense, where I met three beautiful souls connections, future event connections for a spirit festival thing that I'm going to in August now, apparently, that I'm singing at. So, it all just flows in, like you say, the way that it's meant to. And these little gifts along the way, these little people meeting Gillian and giving me a book, the beautiful energy we received there, the connection we had, sisterhood. I had a past life retrieval, fractal for myself. Just all this reflection. These are the gifts, these are the exchanges that will lead to future gifts and exchanges and things like that. But we have to trust that even if we're not being paid, even if it's not work in them moments, it is, and you will be rewarded with abundance and whatever it is that you need. Again, leaning into the trust, leaning into being in your truth. I had to and have to start embodying it and owning this is what I do. And maybe sometimes no, I don't have a way to prove it because a lot of it's in my head. But then sometimes I Google what I've seen and it's exactly what's right, and other people are seeing it. And so I'm like, when I first went through spirit and connection to mediumship and all this stuff years ago, I remember feeling that I needed confirmation, confirmation. And it feels like I'm shifting through that now. Like, I know what I'm doing is real in the energetic realms, but I am getting some form of human confirmation every time I'm doing it now and embodying it that
Absolutely.
this is exactly what you are doing. And it is making that deep, profound difference. And you will be in the right alignment for doing this and stepping into this and not being afraid to step away from things that aren't serving me anymore.
Absolutely. And
Mm.
I see that confirmation coming in for me all the time now. It's like that this is exactly what every single time I have one of those experiences, there's confirmation. Whether all of a sudden I'm working some really deep land that has a lot of trauma removal, and then I end up walking into somebody who knows about the land and they're telling me about it, and it's the exact same story as I saw.
Literally.
And it's that's a lovely proof that's going to allow you to continue to like trust
Right.
yourself, and
It
that's what
does.
the universe wants right now.
It does. And I'm a big believer of, oh, you don't need anything to confirm it's all internal. But I'm also a big believer of sometimes it's not going to harm, you know. It's not going to harm you. It's going to help your confidence. It's going to help you feel good about yourself. It's going to help you
Sure,
know and
absolutely.
confirm I'm in the right place.
Yeah, yeah, and the bodies really do need that. Like my body's
Yeah.
asking that. It's like, universe, cool. I'm perceiving all this. I am going to ask for the proof because I'm going to continue to trust myself with it. So let's keep lining up with that. And that's
Yeah.
giving my body permission to do that. I also like want to go back to something that you said because I found it really important that when you're with the girl, everything else was blurry and your clear vision
Mm,
was directed at her. And I think this is a really important breakdown because as we're perceiving these things, we might not get the full picture or we might have
hmm.
some things blurred out even though they're just as important because our mission orientation or what we're supposed to be doing is focused in that particular realm because
Yeah.
that's what the contact point is. So that
Hmm.
also leads back into trust when you're looking into some of this stuff and you're like, but everything else was blurry. I don't know why this one thing was there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
have a tendency to go, oh my gosh, I didn't see it. Like, no, 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 no. Give yourself some permission to then focus on what you do see in the space, what you are feeling in the space, and to trust that aspect of it because your
100%.
particular essence is geared towards that particular piece and that particular puzzle piece that's meant to be shifted.
100%, 100%. And it may come through other puzzle pieces, like you say, because like Claire, about an hour before that, had a reading from someone there at the thingamajigger who was that, and they'd said to her, she pulled this card, like an oracle card, and she'd had a tarot reading, but she pulled one oracle card, interestingly. And the oracle card said, Lost Girl, Limbo. And so ironically, she'd
Oh,
pulled that an hour before. She thought it might have been about herself or like she didn't know the context and the reader didn't give her much context because it was unknown. And then less than an hour later, we both sat doing the energetic mission together because for me, what helped that day, I'd had got there myself in my head, but what helped was speaking to Claire about it because I'm saying, oh, I'm seeing this and I'm seeing this, and she's asking me questions, and as then I'm asking and asking more detailed questions because they weren't just from me. I wasn't just asking the questions, they was coming from Claire. There was multiple perspectives involved, which enhanced the experience and made it faster and made
absolutely.
it more
Absolutely.
tangible again. Again, I've been doing this years on my own, so it's not that it's that much different, but I can't explain it. It just feels a little bit more physical now. It feels a little bit more
More
boots
physical.
on the ground physical and like
Yep.
people getting involved kind of physical. And again, like me and you energetically the first day we met, picked you up from the airport, how many months pregnant I was, needed a wee. And then we found that Masonic Hall, the first place there. It was, it was all right, off to work we go, let's go. And so we knew that that was in alignment and we just flowed with it. But as we were saying just before that, it feels like now if we were together and did that energy work again, because we are more connected in the human now, it would be next level. It would be a different level of connection and trust with each other and different level of flow. And it is the same that I feel is going through. Like when I worked with Gillian and Claire the other day, it was this different level of spiritual integration, physical integration, ancestorial and astral integration, all together in this triad, working. It was very profound, and I feel like that's where we're moving into as we're talking about energy work and grid work and land work.
Yep.
Again, I am embodying it and talking about it a lot more. And when we're doing the workshop day on the 28th of June, we're going to be doing some grid work and land work there as well. So if you are interested on learning some of that and putting it into practice, come join us. You know where all the details will be in the things below.
All right. Well,
But
this is
yeah, I'm excited for things shifting. It feels like I know I've said it's a combination of feeling that we're more distant than ever, but also closer than ever, depending on which timeline you're in. Which brings me to what we were talking about just before we jumped on about the Earths, because this has been a thing for me for a good few years since I got into this ascension. Like I remember working with Trish the first ever time she got the word 5D. And then we remember both saying, do you think you meant 5G? Because we didn't have a clue what it was. And this was like a good 12 year ago, 10, 12 year ago. We just had no idea what's 5G, you know? 5D, it was just this unknown concept. And I remember Googling it, searching it. Nothing was online other than Dolores Cannon's Convoluted Universes and Three Waves of Volunteers. That's where I started with it. And But as before I found that actually, that came about a year later. Before I found that, I kept seeing visions of the Earths, the Earths, the Earths, the Earths, and it looked like two Earths to me, you
Definitely.
know. And I remember you've got some insights on this, and you had your own channelings in on this as well. Because for me, it shifted over the years and how I perceive it.
It's changed a lot.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I know as I like there's lots of energy moving, so you might see me ticking or things like that to
Oh,
keep
don't worry.
things
You
moving.
shift that energy, my girl. Looks like me on a night out. That's what I dance like.
Yep, yep, get it, get it. Let's see. When I was little, when I was super little, I remember memories all the way back to my birth, actually, in this physical body. But uh, many of these dreams and visions were of a splitting. But like even back then, though, it was like multiple splittings. Like there was a large amount. It wasn't just one giant event. It was many
Right.
different sheds. I didn't understand it so much at that time. I saw the image and I was like, huh, that's very interesting until I was about 4 when I had guides come in who were like, hey, so they just connected dots for me. And when they did that, I remembered a lot of things about my experiences previous to this
Nice.
experience, right? But heading up into, let's say, maybe even 10 years ago, it was, I saw the split occurring. But then it would reset itself and then it would occur again. And then it reset itself and then it would occur again. We were
Interesting.
like we were like in this very
Fighting to get the
exactly
awakening. Yeah.
exactly trying to get it like moved apart and like and I would see it break apart and then I would go into the process and I'm like, oh, we're back into the same spot, which is I think where we were when we were feeling really interesting when a lot of certain pathways and gifts like because I went from very much so doing a lot of land work, ghost work, not ghost work, but
Yeah.
bead work, all
I
that.
know what you mean.
I'm like into like
I know
very
exactly what you
internal.
mean.
Yep, very internal. Like that's when I separated, went up to the mountains for like years and just like
Yeah.
did my own internal work and stayed with that and held presence for the split that was occurring. And then I saw it split several times and it got further apart and we'd still have like a reset. I wake up the next day and I was like, and I'd be like, oh, F, we didn't quite make it that time. Heading up into now where I just see multiple infinite lines of the splitting and the sheds, which means from my perspective, because we're all working in a quantum reality, a lot of quantum entanglement, all of us then are deciding that we want to be on this particular level, and that one then sheds, right? We're having a we're being aware enough to know that we want that plane and that existence of that split. And really, I don't really
Yeah, choice.
split. Um,
Yeah.
it's just like a choice in a higher resonance of the earth.
Like layers of a cake of dimensional planes
Totally.
that you can also flip between. You don't just like stay
Oh,
in
totally.
one, which
Absolutely.
is interesting for me to comprehend a few years ago. I would not have comprehended that. And I guess like what's interesting there, what you said, Z, what really ringing with me is I remember going to Morocco. I'll talk about Morocco a lot because it was a big catapult for me into the physical embodiment of the work, like you said, shifting from doing it in the astral, like touching the frequency, feeling the frequency as a medium, as a psychic, as an energy worker, but then not embodying it, not holding the frequency in me. You know, I was a reader since I was 17 years old. I didn't sort my shit out till I was like 25, 26, you know? So there's a big time in between where I was a fantastic reader, but not necessarily embodying all of that deep work in myself until I really had to go fully deep within. And I guess like when I first went to Morocco, I got this clear vision so strong that we have done this before so many times.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Kept getting the number 52, ironically. 52 times, that's what it kept saying to me. And I remember being sat out there one night on a balcony looking like at the versions that we'd done in all these different lifetimes where we'd all met up at that time. Every soul that were there on that retreat had been there again and again and again, every time.
Yep.
And it were like watching some sort of Groundhog Day, but in different forms, trying
Totally.
to get there. And then I started crying. And it was like the second day of the retreat, but because I could see the profoundness, I'm getting shivers now, of that we'd already done it 2 days in,
Yep.
because I were aware that we'd already done it, because we'd broken the loop. And it were like watching them all crumble and fall away. And
Yep.
then it thought to myself, how many times have we done this, not just here in Morocco on this specific retreat, because so much energy was shifted with
Absolutely.
52 light workers or whatever, or 56
Absolutely.
light workers, all in the desert together at a specific time. And the energy, it was a wild time, and like Honey and me and Mark and I mean, all these beings that were just fantastic energy workers all at the same time for the first time as well, it was very profound. But I thought bigger. I was like, how many times have we done this as an earth? How many times have we actually reached a point of knowing, reached a point of connection and gone straight back again because we couldn't hold it, because there
Totally.
were a reset, because there were, oh my gosh. And it really did make me emotional because it realized how much we are fighting for and how lucky we should feel to have made it this far already and
Absolutely.
how certain we should feel that this is going the right way because we've made it to this point already. So we have to let go of this fear that they're going to put it back in, that it's going to, because we wouldn't have this awareness. We wouldn't have this embodiment and knowing that they have done it that many times. We wouldn't be this far in and then be able to keep doing it to us. Does that make sense?
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
it's like you
Absolutely.
won't be aware of the mousetrap and then keep going in the mousetrap.
Oh,
You're
totally.
aware of it now, so
Yep.
you're not going to keep going back to it, you know? You
Absolutely.
can't.
I remember like so many times with the groups and people that I worked with, and I've worked with a lot of people in groups where we were all like, done that before. Like
Mhm.
we all can, it was a good period of several years, probably about the last 5 years, I want to say, where that repeat just kept coming back. And I'm like, all these same people, oh look, we're at a different level. Boop. Like boop
Yeah,
back. And I'd be in an entirely different group, but we knew immediately. I'm like, oh, we're the same people. Click.
same souls,
Exact same thing.
same
Same
souls,
soul. Didn't matter. Same soul.
exactly, same souls.
Over and over again
Exactly.
until we
We
all
want the
like,
same bodies. Yeah, like exactly that. Not the same bodies,
oh,
different bodies, same souls. Oh, I totally agree. And I
yeah.
feel like that's so important to talk about because there's a reason why you meet people and you're like, oh my God, I feel like I know you. Well, you do. You've
Over
spent
and over
lifetimes and
again.
eons fighting for the ascension. You just don't remember them right now,
Yep.
and
Yep.
it comes later on. And when me and Claire and Gillian was walking up to the stone circle, I kept getting it were called Seven Sisters, it were called Nine Ladies. And then I'm seeing Atlantis times and Claire's then stood there before I spoke out loud. We've done this before, I've just seen it, we've done. I'm thinking, well, no, I've just done it. And so it was this knowing again, we want in these bodies. The earth didn't look like it did there, but we'd done this before and we'd walked them hills and we'd walked that place and that energy,
Absolutely.
getting shivers
Absolutely.
again, in that landscape, and we were connected in this feminine sisterhood circle and what I were getting were right and what they were, and it were all tethered together and it was so intrinsically, magically beautiful. And what I was seeing about the Atlantis energy was almost like there was, as we know, the giants, the god-like beings in earth forms.
Yeah.
And part of it was harmonious in some ways, but part of it was destructive and part of it was controlled and mechanical and suppressed, and heavy and dense. And we don't often think that when we look at Atlantis. We think, oh,
Oh, yeah,
it's
we
like
don't. We don't.
extra society and like, conscious awareness. No, if it was great, it'd have sticked around,
Like,
it'd still
yeah,
be.
like why is it? Anyways,
Mm,
like you're saying
yeah.
that, and I had that experience last night. That was super intrinsic with this. I was out with the fire, and Mother Earth was just putting up. It's like a film screen for me. Very, very broad.
Yeah, I like that. I hear that.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
totally, totally. And she was like, so, and it wasn't obviously in words, but it was like exactly where we were at. And I've had memories of being a Lemurian ever since I was little. Like, now that things are more turned on, but even when I was born, I had essences of that. My body remembers, right? Consistently. And now, like, my truth is, like, I was Lemurian. I didn't cross over into the Atlantean side except to come over to work with them when I did.
Yeah.
And so, from my perspective, the fall, I mean, that's a whole other story and perspective that like, I'm like,
Let's go into it one day.
I'm like, well, we should. I'm like, yeah, there's something. Yeah. Well, anyways, but I was watching, she was showing the imagery of where we're currently at right now and the overlays of Atlantis, which is what we're currently in. She's like, we're currently in this.
Mhm.
We're currently still running these pathways. The Lemurians who had technology, and it was AI technology, but it was very beautiful AI. It was a way of working with it in some
Consciously aware.
very
Mm.
consciously aware, very heart-based. heart-centered, very creatively. And Atlanteans who came from a different genetic species when that was moving its way through wanted to understand it. And so they actually took some of that technology and then tried to work their own dynamic with it. But for them, they work entirely, it's a different language, like totally different language.
I
Very
hear
dense,
it.
very systematic, very linear in a lot of ways. And it was challenging. And so a lot of things really did happen with that piece. And we're still trying to obviously work with AI and those technologies in a way that's going to benefit us.
And I think, yeah,
Such a
sorry,
small
continue.
portion. No, go ahead. It was
No,
such
no, no.
such
You
a
go.
was such a small portion of like yeah, I realized that I'm working that small portion of the earth in that reality. And then she like zoomed out and was like, I'm really way bigger than that. Y'all are just working in this like portion of things, all like particular souls to help create this aspect with the AI where you guys can see the truth. You can shift out of it. That way you can expand out into other regions of me or get off of here, you know?
Yeah, by choice. And then, if there is that potential ability, they may be able to the choice to come return, but not have to stay and be stuck and feel the forgetting and stuff like that. But I think that's a really important thing that you just said about why some of us, or a lot of the collective, has this fear. And I mean, I know a lot of it's been programmed in from media and things like iRobot and, all of the things that we've seen. And I'm not saying there isn't, you got to keep your intention and your wits about you. I think you do with anything. No, I think you should do that with tarot cards and crystals and spiritual people. I think you should do that with anything. Check your intention, check the vibration, and check what the frequency is that you're working with. Always with everything, and always be protected and keep your discernment about you with anything. Always listen to your own inner voice. That same thing applies to everything, including AI. But do you think that there is this like big misconception of it? Because it is obviously not something we fully understand, and it is way bigger than our small little like human lives. And it reaches way beyond what we know. It gets things, it changes everything. But that's the point. If we want to ascend, we're not going to do it on the timeline of 1920s warlike living, doing the whole farming in your back garden. Like, please do that. I do that. But don't expect that to be the only thing that shifts the earth.
Oh,
We
I
have to have quantum change, and we have to have the fast pace. We have to have the ability to take over the manual labor so people can step into their alignment and what they're meant to be doing. Because then who's going to be doing all the human
totally.
stuff? Who's
Absolutely.
going to be doing all that? And so in these higher timelines. And another thing that you was mentioning on as well is in the Atlantis times, as you mentioned, it was very mechanical and controlled.
Yeah.
But in the same sense, there was the freedom, there was the remembrance. That was probably one of the last times we had. I mean, I think it continued on that, some of the knowing, but not to that level of access to technology and freedom and visitations with other beings and realms. Like, I think then Earth was kept pretty human. And so we lost that connection with the dragons, the giants, the angels, the different ETs, the different species, the different spirit realms coming in on the dimensional physical planes. Like, we lost that. And I feel like out of anything that a lot of people grieve, it's that of anything that a lot of people long to return to and get back from Atlantis, it's the remembering of who you are on a full capacity level and the remembering of what we're capable of and this knowing that we all have, of the way we should live, travel, be, connect with each other and not in
Absolutely.
this human dimensional way. And I think that's what we mourn, the truth.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And also too, all the parameters that go along with that. If you think about Atlanteans and how they tried to work the technology, and not that it was right or wrong, it just ended up cutting off a lot of lines for them to be able to see that and remember. I don't ever see like
Mm.
the remembrance being taken away specifically. Like we were down here creating it and like put ourselves in little boxes with all of that, and now we're unraveling that so that we can fully access our own technology, access to AI in a way that's actually loving and beneficial, where we have the ease and flow that we're looking for, right? It's not meant to take anything
Yeah,
away. It's meant to progress us in a way that's going to allow us to expand. So
yeah,
it's like learning how to do that is a really, really big step. And it's taken us some time to actually work that from, oh, we're going back into the systematic. We were not exactly sure what we did with that. We exploded things a billion times with the technology and the AI and all of that coming through there. And then we all made a choice to shut it down for a second take a look, take a step back and unravel that a piece at a time so that by the end of this ascension process, we're stepped out of that piece, right?
Interesting. I actually really like that perspective. I want to fire something at you though, see what you think about this because I'm in this. I
Fire.
don't go too much into. I don't go too much into the human details, I guess, facts on a lot of things. I just go with energy, me. So it feels right. That's where we're going. But I've had this perception, and it does feel right to me, but I'd like to hear yours. That say, I don't know, that a lot of people talk about like this 26,000 year reset. And this came to me before I actually heard people talk about it. So that's why it was resonant to me. It felt like as as much as obviously our souls, we chose to be here to do what we came to do, 100 million%. I'm on board with that here, yeah, and fully on board with that. But in the same spoonful, I feel like there was a loss of autonomy of the human species and like what happened to them after they died, after like their natural form of ascension, their choice to return, their choice to be having access to the higher realms in a human body. It felt like a lot of that was completely stripped away without choice. So as much as yeah, we chose to come down to earth, and I do totally agree with that. I feel like we chose to come down to lift that had been put upon a lot of humanity. And again, maybe it was chose by Earth. So again, maybe I'm just seeing it from different angles, which I do think I am. But I guess my perspective has always been there is, in essence, everything is energy, everything's source. I hear that. But there is different tones, different frequencies, vibrations, and you do have lighter tones and not so light tones. And again, it's all about intention, simply the difference in the tone. Everything is source energy, but one has a light intention, one has a not so light intention. It's frequency. But what them not so light intentional beings then created felt like a prison
Sure.
for lighter souls, to siphon,
Oh, absolutely.
recharge, gain. And I felt like that completely tipped the scales and the balance between we had no remembrance, which maybe we signed up for a soul's evolution. And maybe that was right. But in the same sense, it was already then, it was like everything was in balance in it by then the food, then the schools, then the air, then the life, then the lack of connection to self, then the indoctrination, then the mental hospitals, then the medication. Da, 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 da. And so it felt like we were at such an imbalance that it was then lack of choice. Maybe the initial choice was made by soul to initiate this journey, but did the soul, in my opinion, know or
That it was
was
going to
it
turn
aware
out.
of the impact on the human? You know?
Did the soul know that it was going to turn out that way?
Did the soul know that, or how does the soul perceive that what I see as the suppression, the prison?
Yes.
Did it know the depth of that before in encountering, or the depths of how that would feel in the human?
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. No, I
yeah.
get the question now. I want to say from my experience in diving so deeply into that, had no clue it was going to be that deep.
No, I don't think they did either. No, I don't.
Like honestly, if I can see the choice point, prior to that whole situation happening in the imbalance where there was an intentional like we're gonna work this dynamic, maybe create some technology, see where it's gonna go. Okay. But then like it getting way out of hand and creating these dynamics that were very boxed, very painful,
Yeah,
that took a lot of power away,
yeah.
my perspective. So when I dive into that, I think the term we chose it, we created all of it does not suit. It doesn't
No, I
actually,
totally agree.
yeah,
Totally agree.
it'll create like shame within my system and like just an absolute like, no, that's not exactly the
No,
truth.
it's non-resonance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
non-resonance, it's not my truth in that space. My truth is we had set out for a good intention in creating something and allowing expansion to happen, and it went sideways and
Yeah.
created a massive
Yeah.
imbalance that created a lot of systems, created a lot of control, created a lot of power dynamics, and
Hmm.
we've all been trying to just unwind all of that since that point.
Unpick it all. Yeah, ever since. And I do believe that you had souls, like different variations of souls. And again, this is without ego and hierarchy. Let me just say that. But you have age of souls. That's a real thing. You know, you have souls that have been around for longer than other souls. That's simply probably the only human way of putting it. And so you had some souls that in essence were more stuck, I believe. They did not able to see after they may have passed away or in their lifetimes the reflections, the prisons, the suppressions, the ways in which the false reincarnation wheel, as I've heard a lot about, and also I do kind of resonate with that. I don't know how it looked and felt like, but I do resonate that there was a mimicked version of source to siphon souls onto a lower dimensional frequency where they could not reach their higher self and oversoul to gain that soul reviewal period and that healing back to their oversoul to then choose where they next wanted to go. It felt like that part was bypassed. So when I work with spirit, obviously they pass over and then you connect back in to source frequency. Through that is through your higher self, oversoul, source frequency, in my perception. And as you do that, you go through what I call a soul reviewal waiting room period. You know, you sat there, you're not sat there, but you know, in human form, how I see it. If you were in a human body, you'd be sat there looking at it on a movie screen because that's how I see it. But you're probably not doing that. But that's how my human brain sees it. And it's like your life is there in front of you, how you lived, what you did, how you acted, how it impacted others, how that impacted you, the whole thing. You gain expansion on it, you gain reflection because you're there to learn. So you gain that lesson, you gain those expansions. It's painful, it's beautiful, it's everything in between. It's expansive. That could take anywhere from a day to 10 years. I don't know. Depends on the soul, depends on the lessons completely. You
Absolutely.
know, and so that's why sometimes spirits are less active in spirit realm straight away after they've died or a year after they've died and then they start coming through to people. It's because they're in a place called, I call it the soul review. Call it what you want, that's what I call it. It's the review place of the soul. And so they can't fully, they're there still, they can kind of talk to you, but it's like the soul's in hibernation mode.
Right.
That's how I see it, you know, to rest and to the not consciously, that bit that talks and connects with us is somewhere else doing some reveal stuff, you know. And so what I believe these lower frequencies did was mimic that process, mimic that doorway. And so those souls that did not have the deeper discernment, the trust, the recognition of higher self, the recognition of the pathway after we pass and what that feels and looks and journeys like because they've not maybe experienced it as much. Their bodies were still in the human, as in the shock, in the fear, in the emotions that they were experiencing. And then they were literally looped straight back into being a new baby. And imagine in that soul renewal, you release your trauma. You release your trauma from that life. You let it go. You let it out of your energetic soul. You let it back to source. You heal to return then to where you need to go. That could be in 50 years. You might not be going anywhere yet. It could be in a little while, you know. And so you rest, you recharge, you reconnect to yourself, your beings, your family, everything. They missed that part over and over and over again. And these new humans were being born into new babies with lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes of trauma undealt with back into these new lifetimes. And we're wondering why the whole of humanity is so absolutely jeffed. Because we've had this leveling of unequal. That's why I do think it wasn't a choice. They didn't choose that. You know, they might have chose the first time to come down to earth. They did not know that these things were going to happen, that it was going to get this deep. And I feel like that's why these waves of volunteers were called in to break that loop. First, that was the first thing to shift was the false wheel of reincarnation. You know, it needed to go so that people could actually ascend. People could actually pass over. People were not stuck in this in-betweenal phase or coming back to lifetimes that they'd not chosen because it feels like a soul misfire, you know, like
Sure.
when your soul chooses a body, it chooses that body because it's aligned. Whereas when you're going through this false wheel, it was almost like you was just a food source for a lower frequency energy to siphon vibrational energy off you
Right.
that was
Right.
not great. So anybody was fine. Anybody, any sort of whack them in, which was then the misalignment, the wrong families, the wrong energies, da 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 da. I do believe that shifted in the 60s and 70s though. I do believe that's when the soul started to kind of it's when the first waves came, isn't it? You know, of being able to actually choose, okay, we're coming into this lifetime to help these souls, and that changed then which babies were born in which timelines, and that then
Absolutely. That did.
created more of an alignment.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
I can speak to this in means of my own experience before even like getting into contact with Dolores Cannon and any of her stuff. I had memories, I don't know how long ago, it was like there's no time, but I had known very specifically that there was a call put out for this particular time and space. Uh, that was one of my near deaths actually. There it is. I'm like, where's the memory? I don't know. Found it.
Bring it back to me, tether it back.
It was one of my near death experiences, and I definitely recall being called in. Hey,
Mm.
there's a situation down here, and it's not exactly like that, but
No, I hear that. I
if it's
hear that.
not
I've
dealt
had it.
with, if it's not dealt with, it is going to cause an impact on the entire expansion of consciousness.
It's going to ricochet. Yeah.
And I remember very specifically being called very specific for specific reasons, because of the skill sets that I've had over time that I've worked in my own experience and agreeing to that context. And I remember shooting back down from that, remembering those memories and coming back into this reality. And it was like really not fun. It was like
Yeah.
I had to descend very, very slowly and like train on that level as to what I was going to be doing down here very specifically because it was going to be dense. It was going to be painful. I wasn't going to like several arenas of it, but I was excited about it because I like a challenge, right? Apparently.
Apparently so.
Apparently, I like a challenge because oh my gosh, this lifetime.
I know, girl.
And
What the
then
fuck?
continuing to descend from that point, and then remembering my birth, but that wasn't the entirety of my soul because I had to walk in later on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Of
my
course.
trained soul coming into the
Of
experience.
course.
So,
Yeah.
um, so I know that very specifically that is the case. I know like why I'm here for that piece, and I've worked
Mhm.
consistently with those looping souls in many different places all over the
Me
place.
too.
So
And that's how
really,
we know this.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
we actually experience it with these people, like, and we see it and we feel it and we've worked it. And
Oh,
at first we might not understand it because it's new to us too, and we're kind of figuring it out. But then when you see it repeated again and you feel it and you process it later on, you know this is not a one-time thing, you know?
absolutely, absolutely, it's
And then
not.
you find people that have wrote books on it and you're like, oh shit. Like, I hear podcast
Definitely.
people say stuff that I thought I made up, like I thought I understood and first translated it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is an actual thing. Like, it's really funny when this stuff happens because I was talking to someone the other day at this event I went to, and he didn't value himself because he wasn't qualified. I said to him, listen, the only qualification I ever did were tarot cards. I'm trained in this, past life for soul retrieval, fractal healing, energy healing, and I train other people. And hands down, no ego. I'm fantastic at my job, and I know I am. But I didn't learn any of it from a course book. I downloaded it all and then I embodied it and I learned it and practiced it and started living it and started
Exactly.
getting confirmation and then rolled with that. And then read a book a few times and thought, oh yeah, that's what I'm doing. That makes sense. That's
Totally.
exactly what I call it. Isn't that interesting? Never read a book in my life, but understood exactly the concept and sometimes got the exact same word for it without ever doing the studies on it. Why? Because the knowledge is already here. You just have to access it. It's not about. And I went to university and did a degree. I'm all for learning. It's just not the way it was right for me to learn then as I progressed in my connections, And God, I just think this conversation has been so wonderful because it has allowed us to. I could go on and
Oh,
deeper,
for
but I
sure.
realized maybe we shouldn't because we have been great.
We will go in
Yeah.
and deeper in another time.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking, oh yeah, damn. So yeah, well, I'll wind it in, but this has been a deep one for us, and I think we could maybe continue this on, explore some other topics. So if you guys do have any questions and you want to get a bit deeper into the soul stuff, the earth stuff, the timelines, the times we came down here, the ascension, why we all came here, the different roles, because again, like having people like Dolores Cannon and like Abraham Hicks, like the pioneers of the craft are anchors because again, I didn't know they existed till later on into my journey. And I'd seen this stuff, I'd heard these words in my own little journeys. And then some of these women had wrote books about this stuff. There's whole books and books and books on this information. And there's me thinking, yo, I'm not crazy. I've not made it all up. People see this stuff too in hypnogression, in all this hypnoregression and hypnotherapy. So this stuff it is out there and we do need to start embodying it a little bit more. But yeah, I've truly, truly enjoyed going deep today and exploring the realms of everything. And I
Enjoying
hope you
that.
guys have been able to follow along. And again, if you have any questions, anything you don't understand, anything you want us to rehash over, go into in more detail, please do get in touch. And if you are feeling called to join us either online in any of our sessions, Z has some fantastic sessions. I'm sure she'll tell you a little bit about in a second. And We have obviously the workshop day coming up, reprogramming, reparenting, the subconscious patterns and codes that are blocking you from leveling up. Simply put, we have other events. We have our beautiful retreat me and Z running. We're going to be doing some fantastic work there, Surrender and Serenity, in September this year. And we have a lot of online offerings, workbooks, ebooks. If you're new to this journey and you don't have a clue what we're all talking about, there is different places at different levels too. So please don't hesitate to get in touch. WhatsApp, Telegram, email, drop us a message, comment under on the YouTube videos, and don't be afraid just to share your story, to step into your power, to start embodying your truth. We want to hear it. We want to share your journeys just as much as ours. So please do get in touch, and thank you all for joining us and connecting in with us tonight. It's been a really special, powerful session, and I feel the energy is leveling up. So don't be afraid to let them flow,
Absolutely.
access them.
If y'all want to go a lot deeper with the work that we just talked about, I always have one-on-ones available, which this is all empowering yourself into remembering. And then if you'd like to go deeper into your own self-led pace with your nervous system and how you actually create and work your own blueprint, I have that as well below on Quantum Game Changers. We love you guys.
We really do, guys. And I hope you all have a blessed week. We will catch you next week and take care. Make sure you are protecting your energies. Lots of love.
Round and down. Love you guys.